Previously on Talk That Talk. Social media diminished the Greek experience.
Oh, I don't think it diminished the Greek experience. I think what it has done was made more, we say in the South, GDIs, goddamn individuals, to be disrespectful with it because we put it out there. So I agree with Portia when she says, it's certain things that we did amongst ourselves that we handled it with discretion, and now everybody's putting it out there, and so now you have these aspiring individuals, or you have these individuals who don't understand the concept of discretion, and they just put it out there. Like, I mean, there was a recent situation, I believe a week or two ago, where they had a soror. She was a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha. She was a high school student. I'm sorry, she wasn't a member. She was a high school student. It's like she dressed up, throwed the pinky up and everything. And even in the midst of them trying to educate her, she was like, I said what I said. I'm going to be, this and this member. And I think because of the accessibility to Greek organizations, people feel like I'm entitled and I could do it, blah, 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 blah. But that still doesn't take away from your experience, right? But networking is easier now because the truth be told, that's the whole purpose of being in the organization, is to grow as an individual, but network. You know what I'm saying? So I think it has its pros and its cons, but I also think where social media has diminished it, now we are trying to tear each other down when one falls short of something. That's what I see. So, for example, if it's a hazing allegation, if it's something happened where, just say somebody slips and falls, like that's magnified more instead of acting like real talk, we gangs with different colors, and I see that like Greek shenanigans and different things like that. Sometimes it goes too far. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes I sit back and think, like, if all of our founders were still alive, what would they say about how we're acting, with these organizations that they established for the purpose of bettering the African American community amongst us? What would they say? I think it's great. Through this time I've learned, Rick, he's an Omega, so I would put him in. I only have a handful of like close Omega friends. He's in that group, but the way he carries himself, and I think that's commendable. To have that, even though he's in a separate org, I can respect him for who he is and what he's done for that organization, vice versa, so forth and so on.
All right. Rick, has social media diminished the Greek experience?
I got a couple of responses here because I think Quan and Portia both have brought up some brilliant points, a lot of which I had, but I want to look at them from a different perspective. I think it depends on your age. And when I say age, when you came in the frat or the sorority. I've been Omega now for 20 years. So for me, looking at how the bros are now online, it's a little discouraging. No, it's a lot. Especially knowing like some of the things, like there was nothing, like, I just use this as a prime example. When we came into Pi Gamma, we knew that we had certain responsibilities as Neos that we had to take care of. Not just the fraternal side, but the business side, right? We knew every Friday we wore dress clothes because we had to present Omega not only as the Q dolls, but as Omega men. We knew on Thursday, on what was it, Wednesday, we had frat night. That was our mandatory fellowship. These were things that my chapter did, that were traditions that were passed down. But we also knew we had to do things like the homecoming and Labor Day tailgate. Those were staples on Norfolk State Camp. Everybody knew at that people made plans for homecoming. All right, we're gonna get some of that blue juice from the signals. We're gonna make sure we got that. Then we're gonna hit that Q tailgate because the Qs feed the whole campus. My chapter used to feed the whole campus. You came to our tailgate, you stood in line, you got a plate. Those type of traditions are gone because the younger generation doesn't have the opportunity to make the revenue that we did. Everybody throwing a party now, everybody doing this and that. And so it makes it a lot more difficult for this new generation. And then us old heads, we don't want to get out. We don't want nothing to change from how it was when we were in the chapter. Anything that changed, oh y'all sorry, y'all this or that. So for me, I think it depends on when you came into your particular organization. Um, I also think that, I mean, these are this is the negative sides, right? It has also made it easy for weak stuff that happens in our organization to be seen by the outside world. One of the weakest things that I think I see online, and it boils my blood, is every other week I'm getting somebody denouncing their letters on Facebook. I cannot stand that stuff, y'all. Every time I get up there, like back in the day, them people would just disappear. Like, damn, you seen Susie? No, I ain't seen Susie in 20 years. And Susie got kids. She live in Kansas somewhere having a good old life. Now everybody, oh my Jesus. Let me tell you about my Jesus, y'all. Oh, yes, sir. My Lord, don't like these ain't Christian organizations. Like people just ridiculous, man. So I think it gives the lamer sides of our organization a voice for the uninitiated to see that we would have kept in the background in the past. But there's some positive sides of it too. For me, and I did this literally last week. We know this has been around probate season. I went online and I watched some of the probates from Howard, all the alpha chapters at Howard. So I watched the Sigma probate, I watched the AKA probate and the Q's probate. That AKA probate is off the chain. I'm sorry, y'all. Like seeing all that old tradition, seeing the older AKAs leading them girls in and singing, and then when they get to a certain point, the girls have to go by themselves. Like, man, that joint was fire. The Sigma's the same thing. The Q's the same thing. Like having to march all around Howard's campus till you make it to the sundial and to the monument. Like that, you get to see the tradition. You get a glimpse into hopefully somewhat what it was like when these organizations were founded. So I think that's a great thing because if you live in California, you may never make it to DC, and as whatever organization. So I think it's a glimpse into that. And I think that's a positive thing. And then the last positive thing I think is in general, the internet saved our organizations. And it saved it because if your jacket got 2020 on it, the odds are you ain't pledged in person. I mean, I'm sorry. You can say whatever you want. That generation will probably catch hell from some of our chapters. But if it wasn't for that generation of Greeks, a lot of our chapters wouldn't exist no more. And I would hope that some of these old heads, some of my generation and before me, would give these kids a pass. It won't their fault. I'm sure they wanted to come in the right way. And I'm sure that's a question later. But if it wasn't for the social media and the internet, a lot of our chapters wouldn't exist. My chapter is one of them. We had a 2020 line. All right. So at the end of the day, well, we don't exist anyway. We going from another mess. But anyway, yeah, 2020. Kudos to y'all, man. But let's not just always. I think it's easy for old heads to bash the young people because they didn't necessarily do what we did. Won't no social media when I was in there. I probably would have been the king of social media back when I was in school. You know what I'm saying? I was the president of Omega. I was in the band. I was doing all these things. Like, shit, I would have enjoyed that life. So for me, I think it depends on what generation, because for them, it's normal. They learn hops online. I had to go to that particular school. My favorite hop in Omega is a hop called Cadillac. And I had to learn Cadillac from Kentucky State at the Clave in Arkansas in 2006. It was a hell of a night. I enjoyed myself thoroughly, but I had to get good first. We was all out there talking, and then we was all out there hopping. And that's the one part I wish, it wouldn't have affected the talking aspect, getting to know each other and getting to know the fraternity and sorority. But Yeah, it depends on your generation. That's it.
Yeah, I think that last part that you said to me kind of goes back to that road tripping conversation that we had.
I mean, it does, but the part about it though is I tell Neos this every single time a line crosses into any organization that I'm in. And we all say this, right? It's harder on this side than it is on the other. As a Neo, your chapter is going to take it harder on you than any other chapter will. Yeah, some bros will pick on you and all that stuff, but your chapter will treat you worse than anybody else, but it's because they care and they want you to be a good brother or sister. They want you to be a good representation of said chapter. So yeah, the talking piece is important because I think everybody should get more enthralled in the information of their organization. But at the end of the day, we all know there's what they say, there's levels to this. You got some people like me. I saw Omega at the highest level. You know, I was a national officer for Omega when I was in undergrad. I won Omega Man of the Year for the whole fraternity for undergrads. I saw Omega at the highest level. But there are brothers that just want to get in and throw the hooks up. And that's their experience in Omega. And you know, it is what it is. So.